BCA 101, Introduction to Computers and Information Systems. 217, 17, it's Friday. This would be day 14 for the classes. Alright, we've completed units 1 and 2, and we had the basic skills, and we've had word processing skills. Alright, in the word processing we had the multitasking documents, so we talked about that today. We talked about the issue of dealing with details, how well students focus. You need to be careful when you're attempting to multitask. If you're working on an important project and then you have to switch your brain over to checking an email or a text or something and then come back to the project, you waste a certain amount of time to get back where you are, and depends on the difficulty of this project. If it's a high level project that requires deep thought, switching your brain between deep thought and what I would call trivial thought could, in the future, damage your ability to focus. A student referenced a separate issue, referenced iOS, Apple iOS, small I. The student wondered why we need to know about bits and bytes. Well, in this unit we talk about word size of processors. Most of them should be a 64-bit. And we'll talk more and more about storage and the amount of bytes, so how much data are we moving and how fast are we moving the bits. So we will bits per second and bytes for storage. Using the ASCII code, a capital A is really this in the computer. Off, on, off, 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 on. So you hold the shift key and hit a capital A. This is what's really being looked at inside the computer. Those 8 bits are giving us a byte. We didn't actually clarify it exactly. Somebody said, well, if something comes up to the top of a search, then that would mean it's probably good information. I don't know if there's any way to prove that. I would say there's probably some truth to that, but I don't know how to prove that that site is trustworthy. Shaming. Lindsay Stone posted the picture. Had a huge impact on her. We talked about how do you get rid of a bad reputation. Well, there's people out there you can hire. And somebody said, well, it scrapes all the bad stuff away. No. The information remains. What you need to do is replace negative comments with positive comments, so these work their way back up in the search engines. So, a lot of people said in the shaming example, well, she shouldn't have posted. Okay, be careful what you post. Yeah, I agree. But there's also something to say about our culture and how people who don't even know her, how they treated her. And they had no idea who she was, what she was like, her life, the story behind the picture, why they were doing it. But yet they were able to force her out of her job and create plenty of mental stress and anxiety over a period of time. Is that a direction our culture is going? I think that's a bigger question to ask. I talked about the skills-based. A couple people left some plain old typos. We talked about being able to finish in an efficient amount of time. And the spreadsheet one, you need to be pretty good at it when you do the skills-based so you don't get lost or frustrated. In spreadsheets, key things. Relative and absolute addressing. you can use relative addressing to copy a formula and have that formula reference new things in cells so that you don't have to retype in everything. Now, in some cases, we want to reference just one cell. Well, that would be an absolute. And we do examples in class. Data analysis, I would say, is probably the most important thing in spreadsheets. You know, a lot of people say they use spreadsheets just to keep track of data, but doing data analysis is really one of the key things where you can go in and adjust some data and see the results. We did the round function, which is really important so that the answers look accurate. And then we finished up covering a few things in the outline. We talked about mobile devices. A lot of mobile devices sold nowadays. Desktops and desktop and workstations. We're talking about PCs. And then we also mentioned separate servers. You know, the difference from a machine that other people access and get information off to where we just have a client. The client access the server. You got that client-server environment. And mini computers, they're like high-end PCs, like way high-end, you know, like $1 million plus. Mainframes, even more sophisticated big computers, and supercomputers, not a lot of those in the world, but they use to predict weather, do very advanced calculations and predictions and so forth. All right, then to finish up, when we were doing the spreadsheets, we finished up with the if statement. Here's how it works. You can go equals if in a cell, and then you can create a conditional here. You could say something greater than something, and here you would use cell references. You'd have some values, some absolute values stored in some cells. And then if it's true, it'll do what you have here. If it's false, it'll do what you have there. And what can you have there? You could have a formula, you could have just a value. Okay. And we'll practice these in class. All right. Well, that's it.